Hold a question in your mind for a moment, one that sounds simple but has quietly haunted science for over a century. Is a virus alive? You'd think this would be easy to answer. We know what life is. It grows, it breathes, it reproduces, it dies. And we know viruses can sicken us, spread between us, sweep across the entire world. Surely something with that much power must be alive. And yet, when you look closely, closer than almost anything else in biology, the answer dissolves into something far stranger. Because a virus sits balanced on the knife's edge between the living and the dead, and after 100 years of study, the world's scientists still cannot agree on which side it falls. Take a moment to ask yourself what you actually believe. When you picture a virus, do you imagine a creature or a thing, a living invader, or a kind of dangerous chemical? Tell me in the comments where you stand, alive or not, because this is a debate that even experts argue over, and I read every single answer. And if questions that bend the boundaries of what you thought you knew are what you're here for, subscribe and hit that like button, so more people can wrestle with this mystery alongside us. To understand the problem, you have to understand what a virus actually is. And it's almost nothing. Strip away the fear in the headlines, and a virus is astonishingly simple. A tiny package of genetic instructions, a strand of DNA or RNA wrapped in a protective coat of protein. Sometimes there's an outer envelope, sometimes not. But that's it. No cell, no mouth, no organs, no machinery. It cannot eat. It cannot grow. It produces no energy of its own. It cannot even make a copy of itself. By the standards of every biology textbook, a virus is missing nearly everything we associate with being alive. This is the case against life, and it's a powerful one. Take a virus out of a living body and set it on a surface, and it simply sits there, completely inert. It does nothing. It doesn't move. It doesn't react. It doesn't change. In fact, scientists have managed to do something with viruses that you could never do with a true living creature. They have crystallized them, packed them into rigid, lifeless crystals, like grains of salt or sugar, and then brought them back out, still perfectly able to infect. You cannot crystallize a cat or a tree or a bacterium and expect it to spring back to life. On its own, a virus behaves less like an organism and more like an elaborate, beautiful, dangerous chemical. And yet, here is where it turns. Because the moment that lifeless chemical touches the right living cell, everything changes. The virus locks onto the surface of the cell like a key finding its lock and injects its genetic instructions inside. And then something almost sinister unfolds. Those instructions seize control of the cell's own machinery, hijacking it completely, forcing the captured cell to stop its normal work and instead do one thing: build copies of the virus. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. The cell becomes a factory it never agreed to be, churning out new viruses until it bursts apart, releasing the swarm to find new victims. Suddenly, the inert chemical is reproducing, spreading, evolving. It looks, in this moment, undeniably alive. So which is it? This is the heart of the 100-year argument, and the case for life is just as strong as the case against it. A virus has genes. It reproduces, and crucially, it evolves. It mutates, it adapts, it responds to pressure, it changes over generations exactly the way all living things do. This is why new variants emerge, why our medicines must constantly be updated, why the flu shifts every year. Evolution is arguably the deepest signature of life itself, and viruses do it brilliantly. Whatever else they are not separate from the living world. They are woven through its very fabric. Many scientists have settled on a careful, unsettling phrase to describe this in-between state. A virus is alive only when it is inside a host. Alone, it is just information. A message in a bottle. A set of instructions waiting in the dark. Inside a cell, that information awakens and becomes something that acts, builds, and multiplies. It's a kind of borrowed life, a life that exists only in relationship to something else. The virus is neither fully a creature nor fully a chemical, but something that flickers between the two depending on where it is. It blurs the line we always assumed was a solid wall. And just how much of the world do these in-between things occupy? The answer is staggering. Viruses are the most abundant biological entities on the entire planet. Not by a little, but by an almost unimaginable margin. In the oceans alone, the number of virus particles is so vast that it dwarfs the number of stars in the observable universe. They infect everything: animals, plants, fungi, and especially bacteria. Every second of every day, in the seas around the world, viruses are killing an enormous fraction of all bacteria, reshaping entire ecosystems, controlling populations, driving the cycles of life and death across the globe. Whether or not we call them alive, they are among the most powerful forces in all of biology. But the strangest twist of all is hidden inside you. Over the vast history of life, viruses have repeatedly inserted their genetic code into the creatures they infected, including our own ancestors, and some of that viral code never left. A significant portion of the human genome, the very instruction manual that builds you, is made of ancient viral remnants, woven permanently into our DNA across millions of years. And here is the astonishing part: some of those stolen viral genes were not discarded, but repurposed. One of them is essential to forming the placenta, the organ that allows a mammal to nourish its young before birth. In other words, a gene we borrowed from an ancient virus may be part of why you were able to be born at all. The line between them and us is not nearly as clean as we'd like to believe. And just when scientists thought they had drawn the boundary, nature blurred it again. In recent decades, researchers discovered giant viruses. Viruses so large and so complex that they rival or even exceed some bacteria in size, carrying hundreds of genes, including some that hint at functions we thought only true living cells possessed. These discoveries reopened the entire debate because they sit even more awkwardly in the gray zone, refusing to be neatly filed as either living or non-living. Every time we think we found the wall between life and non-life, viruses lean against it and show us it was only ever a curtain. So why can't science simply settle the question once and for all? Because the deepest lesson here may be about us, not about viruses. Alive is a category that human beings invented, a box we built to sort the world into tidy halves. But nature never agreed to use our boxes. Life did not appear all at once, fully formed. It emerged gradually from non-living chemistry over unimaginable stretches of time. And viruses may be a living fossil of that very transition. A glimpse of the blurry, uncertain frontier where the non-living becomes the living. They aren't failing to fit our definition. They're revealing that our definition was always too simple for a universe this strange. So the next time you hear about a virus, don't ask only whether it's dangerous. Ask the deeper question, the one that has no settled answer. Is it alive? Hold a single virus in your imagination, inert as a crystal, yet able to hijack a living cell. Lifeless on a surface, yet evolving across the ages. Not quite a creature, not quite a chemical, and somehow woven into the story of your own birth. Perhaps the honest answer is that a virus is neither alive nor dead, but something we never had a word for. A reminder that the universe is under no obligation to fit inside the boxes we built for it. And that, more than any clean answer ever could, is what makes it truly mind-bending.